I'm Ezra Levan. It's February 14th, and you're watching Battleground. Oh, hi, everybody. I didn't hear the sound on that. No problem. Hey, everybody, welcome. It's Valentine's Day. It's the day where I tell you that I love you. It's been an extremely busy week. I can't even believe all that's happened. It started for me on Monday afternoon, where I got on a plane in Toronto heading to Halifax, where later that night, a convicted, confessed Al-Qaeda terrorist, murderer, war criminal named Omar Khadr was scheduled to speak as an honored guest at Dalhousie University. That's super gross. And of course, they announced in advance no questions would be put directly to him. But I wanted to go anyways. So I get on the flight in Toronto, and I want to tell you, I was sitting in economy class, but I like to walk through first class, and I like to look who's there. Maybe there's a politician. I mean, when you're flying out of Toronto, you never know who you're going to see. Actually, when I was at the airport about to get on the plane, I bumped into Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe, who was just returning from a successful trip to the States. So I shook his hand, I said hi, I met his staff. So I think it's fun sometimes to look who's flying. So I get on the plane. You know, when you get on a plane, you see the stewardess, you say hi, then you turn, you get on the plane, you walk through first class, and I looked around, and as soon as I looked, someone turned around quickly to put their back towards me, to hide their face from me. But of course, I didn't regard it as them hiding their face from me. I thought, oh, someone's just coincidentally turning around right now. I thought nothing of it. And I noticed that his wife was wearing hijab. I didn't think anything of that. I walked out of first class and I sat down about 3 rows into the economy class. I sat down, probably started looking at my phone, daydreaming, whatever. So 2.5 hours later, we land in Halifax. And by the way, if you've ever flown from Toronto to Halifax, or if you even know your map, you know that you're flying for most of that over U.S. airspace, because Toronto is really far south, and then I think it's Vermont and Maine go like that, and Halifax is there. So you're flying across the states. So we land in Halifax, and everybody stands up, and I can see that guy who had hidden himself from me. I didn't know it was hiding. I just thought it was a coincidence he turned away. I couldn't believe it. I recognized him from behind because he turned his head slightly. Oh my God, it was Omar Khadr on my flight. He was taking the same flight to Halifax. We were both getting in a few hours early. Now, as you know, when planes disembark, everyone crowds that middle aisle, so it's slow to get off. So by the time he got off and I got to the door of the plane was a couple minutes, so he was long gone. I was flabbergasted. I didn't have the quickness of wit to take out my camera and take a picture of him, but by this point, the co-pilot had opened the door, and you know, sometimes co-pilots or pilots say hello, thank you, whatever. So I said to the co-pilot and the flight attendant, I said, that was Omar Khadr. Did you see him? Do you know? Is he on the no-fly list? I asked questions, and neither of them knew anything about it. The flight attendant said, well, let's look at the passenger list, but she had thrown it out already. So neither knew anything, and I didn't learn anything from them. So I exit the plane, and I'm thinking, well, for sure, he's gone now, because he was obviously hiding his face from me. He obviously recognized me. I wrote a book about him called The Enemy Within: Terror, Lies, and the Whitewashing of Omar Khadr. So obviously I thought he had run away. So I sort of took my time by this point. But then when I was about to get a cab, I thought, well, let me just take a look. And I saw him indeed standing by the luggage carousel. And like so many other murderers, he's got this weird coterie of middle-aged women fans. There's this psychological phenomenon. You can read it in Psychology Today. You can read it. There's so many studies on it because it's so bloody weird. Women who become pen pals with serial killers, women who marry serial killers in jail. Well, so here's a killer. We know he's killed once. We don't know who else he murdered before he was caught. He was a terrorist. 4, let me call them cat ladies or wine ants or whatever. Oh, Omar. 4 of them It was all middle-aged women. There's something funny about that. Anyhow, instead of me describing it, let me show you the video. I had just walked off the plane, turned on my cell phone. I was holding it portrait style instead of landscape style. And I'm smart enough to know that when you're videoing something, turn your phone like that. But I was just sort of worried that it would be jostled and then I'd drop it or something. I just thought if I was holding it like that, I would have a firmer grip on it. So forgive the angle of the camera. I know that's not the best way to do it, but I thought I don't want to mess it up. So here's the next 4 minutes of what happened.
Can I have a word? Can I talk to you for a minute?
Can we take a selfie together?
If you want.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a couple questions? How did you get on the plane? I thought you were on the no-fly list.
See, this is exactly what we figured would happen. Why don't we go ahead and walk away from
why don't you,
toxic things that are hurtful?
Why don't you? But aren't you on the no-fly list?
Is there security?
For me or for him?
Yeah, for filming a person when that's really not an okay thing to do. So please. Yeah.
Can I ask you
guys
why you won't let the widow have access to some of the money you got?
Excuse me, officer, he's harassing us.
He's not harassing anybody. That's a convicted Al-Qaeda terrorist right there who just flew on an airplane.
Okay, sir. Well,
He's entitled to do what?
he's entitled to leave the airport.
Yeah.
That's good, thanks.
Excuse me, sir.
Why you it's assault. Get your hands off me. Why have you never renounced your father's terrorism?
I don't understand.
Why have you
this is
never
allowed.
renounced your father's terrorism?
Okay, just walk. We need to go.
Because we're not under Sharia law.
Let's just walk to the car. Come on.
Where have you stashed the rest of the money? Why don't you feel an obligation to pay money to the widow whose husband you murdered and the 2 children?
This is an airport. There's a public place.
Exactly, that's why I'm filming.
Your proximity.
She's touching me, that's battery.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is actually.
My hands are open.
That's a terrorist, that's an Al-Qaeda terrorist right there. Al-Qaeda terrorist. It's an Al-Qaeda terrorist right there.
Okay.
Al-Qaeda terrorist right there.
Okay. Go ahead. Just go on. Okay, sir.
Yeah, yeah,
Sir?
yes. Yeah. Why are you touching me?
You're impeding someone from leaving the building.
No, I'm not. You're impeding me from leaving the building. What's your name and badge
I'll give
number?
you my card, sir.
Give
okay?
it to me.
I will give it to you, sir. You're very close to being arrested. You understand me?
And you're very close to getting a civil lawsuit for assault and battery.
Don't jaywalk, sir. Crosswalk's back there, okay? Am I clear? Don't jaywalk.
What are you stepping on me for?
Doing your job, sir. Doing your job.
And what job is that?
Keeping the public safe.
Whose safety was in breach there?
Everyone's safety, sir.
You're a goddamn liar and you know it. You're a disgrace to that badge. And you're a disgrace.
I'm proud of what I do, sir.
You're proud of defending a terrorist?
I'm proud of keeping people safe, sir.
Safe from whom?
The house that police were at the top of the moral ladder. You know, sometimes there's surveys, who do you respect the most in the community? Obviously, journalists, lawyers, politicians are right at the bottom. In a lot of surveys, doctors are pretty high. Pharmacists apparently are super high. The way I grew up, police, absolutely, not only were they the good guys, they were the people you could rely on to help. They were like little judges almost, neutral, public interest. That's just how I grew up. And in almost any news story, I would take the side of the cop, you know, by default. And I'm still pro-cop, obviously. But almost every week, I see some political policing, some partisan policing that just makes me think, what is going on with that profession? And in this case, I think that these cops had no idea who I was or who Omar Khadr was, and they thought I was just some noisy guy filming some private guy. They didn't realize that that was a convicted war criminal terrorist murderer who either is or should be on the no-fly list. But to push me, they pushed me. By the way, just because you're a cop, you can't break the law. Police can touch you. They can even kill you under the right legal circumstances. You can actually kill anyone under the right legal circumstances too in self-defense. But to simply walk up to you, squish you, push you, step on you, that's not allowed if there's no reason to do so. I was very frustrated by that. Air Canada tweeted to me, send me more details. I did by direct message. I didn't hear back from them. My theory, and I had a friend who was pretty senior in Ottawa, said that what's most likely is that Air Canada did not know this person was on the plane because, in my friend's opinion, Justin Trudeau probably took Omar Khadr off the no-fly list as part of a package of gifts to him. We only know about the public ones. We know about the $10.5 million payment from Trudeau to Khadr that was arranged in a way to hide it from the widow, Tabitha Spear. We know about the disgusting public apology from Trudeau to Khadr. The no-fly list was probably part of a secret package of goodies. Who knows what else? So Air Canada, the reaction of the co-pilot and the flight attendant seemed very genuine, and they probably were. It's Trudeau who took Khadr off the no-fly list. But I happen to know a little bit about Khadr, having written a book about him and read a lot of material about him. And he signed a plea deal with the United States government that included a promise, a binding contractual promise, never to set foot in the United States again, including U.S. airspace. And as I mentioned moments ago, there's the map there, to fly. Can you scroll up a little bit? So this is a flight. Yeah. So this is the exact flight that I took the other day. This is flight 608, I believe. So you can see that it's on. Yeah, 608. So scroll down a tiny bit. So you can see this flight is in progress because this is the exact time we were on the plane on Monday. So you can see the plane left Toronto, flew along the coast of Lake Ontario, and now it's over. That's New York State there, right? And then is that, I don't know my states that well, Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, I think. I think that big one's, oh shoot, I don't know my U.S. state. But you can see they're well into the U.S. At least half this flight is over the U.S. The U.S. is everything south of that yellow line. That green line is where the plane is flown. The blue dotted line is where it's about to fly. YYZ on the left is Toronto. YHZ on the right is Halifax. So that plane is over U.S. airspace. And if that big one is Maine. Sorry, I get Maine mixed up. So would you forgive me? I don't know all my U.S. states. Maine, and is it Vermont and New Hampshire? Is that those other little ones? And then Massachusetts is the one below them, right? Massachusetts is the sideways one. And then New York is the big one. So anyways, it doesn't matter. My point is they're all American states. So that airplane by Air Canada took a convicted terrorist over U.S. airspace for an hour. I was on the plane. I was in like row 13 and he was in like row, just a few rows in front of me. So if I was Air Canada, I'd be thinking we're in a pickle three ways. Number one, this is an Al-Qaeda terrorist on our plane. Al-Qaeda terrorists are famous for hijacking planes. What's going on? There's a safety issue. Issue number two, how do passengers feel about sitting next to a terrorist? And if he can fly to Halifax, can he get on a plane? Air Canada flies every day to Tel Aviv, Israel, so they go Toronto to Tel Aviv. That's a plane full of 300 Jews. Can Omar Khadr go on that? And, that's a pretty sweet target for an Al-Qaeda terrorist. So there's the safety risk, terrorist. There's the passenger. Like, I recognized Omar Khadr. Obviously, most people didn't. But what are you going to do? I mean, you're going to tell passengers that they have to suck it up and sit next to an Al-Qaeda terrorist on a plane? How's that for customer appreciation? And then, of course, the third point is U.S. law. I don't know. I mean, the plea bargain that Omar Khadr signed applies to him. But what if Air Canada is bringing a terrorist into U.S. airspace unwittingly? I suppose Air Canada can put him on their own internal no-fly list. Like if you have a road rage or air rage incident, like, if you do something really stupid on a plane, like get really drunk and get into a fight, and then you land and the police are there to get you, I think that person is put on the airline's in-house no-fly list, right? It's not a government no-fly list. It's just Air Canada says, hey, buddy, you're never welcome on our planes again. So I suppose Air Canada could do that to Omar Khadr. I see there's some super chats coming in, so let me catch up. Thor's daughter bear says, I just watched a video of a guy getting arrested for attempting to take down a blockade on the highway. The protesters must be sanctioned by the powers that be, or why else would this guy be arrested and not protesters? That's a great point. I don't know if you saw, I retweeted that this morning, a CP Rail guy. We'll get to that in a moment. It's a very good point. Let me just catch up on the other super chats too, which I let go by, and I'm sorry, I like to read the super chats when they come out. The coconut cabbie, £2. Keep it up. Thank you very much. Lamont Boucherville, $2. Everyone go to Amazon and buy Ezra's book, Libranos. Well, hey, thanks very much for that. I'm not sure if I told you, maybe I did. My book, The Libranos, only hit number 2 on the bestseller list when we rolled it out in September, October. And that's great. I'm grateful for that. But it did not escape my notice that Sheila Gunn Reid's book went to number 1 last year. And I'm the boss, and I only went to number 2. What's wrong? Am I losing my touch? Mazel tov to Sheila, well deserved, but what's wrong with me? So what a delight that this January, February, when Trudeau sent his police to interrogate me about my book, that finally put my book to number 1. So there you go. So anyways, that's what happened at the airport. Like I say, we landed early afternoon. The speech of Dalhousie was in the evening. I bought a ticket, and as you saw, I flew to Halifax. So I arrive at the event, and a whole whack of police and security tell me I can't go in. What are you talking about? I've got a contract right here. It's called a ticket. Bought, paid, money exchanged. So why not? And I hadn't done anything wrong, and so the terrorist doesn't like me. Yeah, feelings mutual. I'm not kicking him out. You're keeping out a journalist from a university in favor of a terrorist. They told me about, I had a 15-minute altercation. I recorded the whole thing. Here's a short montage of it, but basically they said, get out, and I said no about 30 times, because you know what? And I was standing next to a bunch of cops, and I was not being mean to the cop. I just said, I will not go, and I sort of dared them. Imagine them handcuffing a journalist and taking him outside. Not for doing anything wrong. Like if I was being rowdy, if I was being disruptive or abusive or had broken any rule, if I were drunk, if I caused a fight, yeah, kick him out. But imagine just arresting a journalist on the spot. I sort of thought they wouldn't do it because they're stupid. The university and anyone who would invite Omar Khadr, there's a certain degree of stupidity there. But I thought, are they that stupid? And I sort of, like I've never been arrested before in my life, let alone jailed, let alone charged, let alone prosecuted, let alone convicted. But I thought, let's roll the dice here, because wouldn't it be something if a journalist was arrested and handcuffed just because a terrorist said so? So I called their bluff. Here, take a look.
Okay, I bought a ticket.
We'll just wait and see. If you
Oh,
just
it's
wait
not
one
a
second,
problem.
we'll come in. We'll
Oh, so there is a problem?
It's not a problem. It's okay. We'll just wait 1 second. We'll just wait. We'll have some people here to come speak to you.
Well, I don't want to speak to them. I want to go in.
Sure, not a problem.
Okay.
We've been asked to inform you that you're not welcome here tonight.
By whom? I know the terrorist doesn't want me, but I'm not going to leave because I've done nothing wrong. I paid for the ticket, and I have not caused a disturbance. I've not broken any rules. And the fact that a terrorist might not want me here is not of interest to me.
Sir,
I received.
can I ask you to leave, please?
I'm not leaving.
Are you refusing to leave, sir?
Yeah.
The university is not welcoming him here today.
What do you mean the university's not welcoming him? So I got an email from you as recently as yesterday saying it was fine.
Yes, I understand that.
I think you're lying. Who told you? You're making this up.
No, I'm not making this.
Well, show me your authority. You don't speak for this event. I want your names. What's your name? And why won't you tell me your name? It's a little cowardly. Are you running this event here today?
Yes.
So these guys say I'm kicked out. And I say I have a written confirmation that I'm not. And I say I've done nothing wrong. Mm-hmm. I'm well behaved, as everyone knows.
Okay.
I'm extremely polite, as everyone knows. And I even had a shower, so I'm smelling fresh. So why are you kicking me out?
Are you recording?
Yes, I am.
No, you shouldn't.
I'm recording a breach of contract, so this is evidence. I'm not going to record in there.
We may have to hand you over to the security to deal
I'm
with
right
that.
here. I couldn't be closer if he was touching me. I mean, we're practically bosom buddies. He's about 4 inches taller than me, but other than that, we're a spitting image. I'm sort of embarrassed you wearing those medals at an event with a guy who murdered allies. I respect the fact that you earned those medals. I find it bizarre that you would stand on guard for a terrorist, war criminal, Al-Qaeda murderer. I'm interested in getting in. I'm happy to follow the rules, but you've put me through 10 minutes of embarrassment. So what do you want?
Would you like to go in, sir?
I would. All right. And will you let me in? All right. Thank you.
Everyone knows I'm polite. I even have a mug that says, most effing polite guy. Kidding, I don't have that mug, but I should get one made. Everyone knows I'm the most polite guy. Actually, I did not swear there. One of my goals in life is not to swear. It's a constant battle. Because once that dam breaks, brother, you're going to learn a few new words. Sometimes I even swear in Latin. Any of that. Occasionally in French. Mainly in English and Middle English. Some super chats. Thomas G, 50 Norwegian kroner. What a sad state of affairs. Keep fighting the good fight. Well, thank you very much. Trinoculus P, 20 bucks. The Chinese coronavirus from Wuhan shares location with a 20,000 square meter standard genetic laboratory with more than 20 life sciences. Am I being paranoid that eating bat soup may not be the source? Well, you are correct. That is, in fact, Wuhan is the location of China's most advanced biological research center, including biological warfare. And I don't want to get it wrong, so I want to refer to it. But I believe Canada sent the Ebola virus to that Wuhan facility. Is that right? Let me just check that. Ebola virus, China, Canada. I don't want to get it wrong because there's there we go. I'm reading. I'm just on the National Post. Can you pull up a story called "Canadian Lab Immersed in RCMP Probe Sent Ebola"? Can you put that on the screen? I'm taking a bit of a detour here, but the question. Yeah, thank you. So this is in the National Post. Look at that headline: Canadian Lab Immersed in RCMP Probe Sent Ebola and another deadly virus to China, Health Agency. It's unclear if the transfer had anything to do with the reported dismissal last month of Sheng Guo Chu, a lab scientist who co-discovered a treatment for Ebola. I think they sent it to the lab in Wuhan. Pretty sure that's where the lab is. So yeah. Canada is so Chinese nationals working on viruses and bugs in Canada were fired. Police escorted them. Police investigated. Trudeau, for some bizarre reason, approved sending China the Ebola virus. That's a good idea. So, was it bats? Was it something that escaped from their biological weapons lab? How would I know? The whole thing reminds me of the HBO miniseries Chernobyl, and I know I've talked about it before. May I recommend that series? I can't recommend it highly enough. I think that that's been the favorite thing I've seen on TV in a year. So well done, beautifully filmed. The color, I know it sounds strange to talk about the coloring, the palette of the film, but it made you feel like you were there. The drama, the sound effects, the story, the way they captured the madness of the Soviet system and the terror of the Chernobyl reactors. And let me tell you something that I could not believe. I was so dubious of it, so skeptical that after I watched Chernobyl, I did research on my own because I thought, is that true? And it was a pretty true to life. Let me tell you one thing. They had 4 reactors at Chernobyl, and I think it was reactor 4 that blew up. Did you know that they kept the other reactors operating throughout the entire time? I find that amazing. That's how, first of all, desperate they were for power. Like the Soviet economy was so brittle, so wobbly, and second of all, that's how little they care about human life or anything. That's the Soviet Union for you. And do you doubt that all the instincts of the Soviet Union in dealing with Chernobyl are being manifested in China in dealing with the Wuhan coronavirus? Number one goal, save face. Number 2, blame storm. Scapegoat someone else. Number 3, maybe number 3 is fix the problem, but probably not. Blame your enemies, use it to power grab. Point number 4 might be solve the problem. So yes, thank you for that question about Wuhan. I hope I answered it satisfactorily. Let's check the time. It's 2:26. Time flies. So that was my Monday night. It was more eventful than I thought it would be. I thought I was just going to sit in a room. And by the way, when I finally got into that room in Dalhousie University, I'm used to all sorts of different groups of people. You go to a hockey rink, there's sort of hockey mums and dads and kids. You go here, it's guys. You go there, it's like I'm used to all different kinds of people. So I go to this university event, and there were some high school kids there, which bothered me. They were taking high school kids to hear a terrorist. There were some college kids. In fact, I met a bunch of fans there, which was so nice. But I'm sitting in there, and I look around, and I look to my left, I look to the right, I look behind me. I think 75% of the people in that room were women like the 4 who picked up Omar Khadr from the airport. I'd call them 35 to 55-year-old wine ants, women who are either in romantic love with Omar Khadr or want to save him and heal him and fix him. It was like I was in a room full of Charles Manson's pen pal brides. And so obviously a lot of cat sitters were busy that night, and obviously a lot of wine would be drunk later on in the bathtub. It's gross. There's a psychological profile of people who love Omar Khadr, and I'd say the average one is a 50-year-old woman who has conflicting feelings of maternal love and sexual, romantic, erotic love. Tell me I'm wrong. Why are all these women cooing and emoting over a murderer who would put them in burqas? His wife wears a hijab. So gross, so gross. So that was my Monday night. I see another super chat. Good job, says Banana, thank you. So I came back to our world headquarters here on Tuesday, and I'm running around a bit. And Lamont Boucherville, Vote People's Party of Canada, thank you. So let me tell you one more story. Patrick Moore, he's the co-founder of Greenpeace. He was on their board for years. He's got a PhD in ecology, but he broke ranks with them when they started getting a little wacky, a little unscientific, a little political, a little bit partisan, junk sciencey. He just said, no, that's not me anymore. So for more than 10 years, he's been actually a critic of them. DG $10, I believe Trudeau and MPD were re-elected because of brainwashed university and college students. We need to start fighting ideological indoctrination. Our education system is only getting worse. You're so right, and of course that starts even earlier, high school, and even earlier than that. It's just really, like I started seeing politics in my kids' schools, even in preschool. I'm not even kidding. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So Patrick Moore was one of 45 scheduled speakers at a conference put on by the city of Regina, capital Saskatchewan, Canada. And I've heard him speak before. I think he's wonderful. He's so persuasive. He's so smart, but he knows how to communicate to laymen. That's tough. When you're so smart and you're a PhD in ecology, you've got all this jargon, you're fancy, but he knows how to communicate it in plain language for smart but uneducated people. I mean, by uneducated, I mean in the tech. I mean, I regard myself as educated, but I'm uneducated in, biological sciences, historical, carbon dioxide parts per million. Like I'm sort of self-tutored in that. So Patrick Moore is he's a great teacher. But apparently having one voice out of 45 who's even marginally critical of the Greenpeace ideology was too much. And so a mob formed, but it was a fake mob. It wasn't a grassroots, it wasn't real people. It was the elites. It was professors in Regina, which is super gross that they wanted to ban a man from talking. I remember when universities used to be a place where you debate ideas, not censor them. Politicians. Well, I thought politicians were about debating ideas, not censoring. And the media itself. I thought the media was about talking about new ideas, not censoring. Let me show you a headline from the Regina Leader Post, just super duper gross. Climate change denier, Patrick Moore to speak at conference. This is not a newspaper article. This is a campaign document to get someone banned, and indeed they did. Absolute disgrace. And by the way, I tell you, I've heard Patrick Moore give his presentation on more than one occasion. He's not a climate change denier. It's all he talks about is climate change and why it's changing and how it's changing and when it changed and its relation to carbon dioxide, if any, and climate change denier. So not only is that disinformation and a slander, it's wrong, it's stupid. Imagine someone as dumb as that author getting someone as smart as Patrick Moore deplatformed. I see some super chats, I'll get to him in a minute. So I happen to know Patrick Moore, like I say. So I called him up. Of course, the cowards at Regina City Council fired him late on a Friday afternoon when all the media were gone. So I call him up, and he's unpleased, and I say, buddy, can you still go to Regina that day in May? Can you still give that speech? What's your speaking fee? It's not a secret, it's $10,000. I said, we'll pay it. I said, if I can find another venue, will you speak anyways in defiance of their fatwa, in defiance of their crackdown? And he started to get excited. He said, yeah. I said, well, look, it's Friday night. The convention sales staff at the hotels of Regina are gone for the weekend. Don't announce it. Let me, because maybe I can't get it, but let me work on Monday and Tuesday, get a hotel space. So I should tell you, we called the Delta. They refused, cowards. We called Ramada. They refused, cowards. But we called a place called Connexus Center of the Arts, for Arts. And they hosted Dr. Jordan Peterson a couple years ago. And as you know, the left tried to deplatform Jordan Peterson, and they held firm. So I thought, I'm dealing with good people here. If they could withstand the hurricane wind blowing against Dr. Jordan Peterson, they'll be good here. So it was no problem. I booked a room, and I said to the very nice sales lady, I said, could you do me a favor? You're very nice, and we got a deal, but can you check with the bosses there? Like check with your CEO that we're kosher here. Just check, because I don't want to be deplatformed twice. That would be terrible. So she says, okay, and she checks, and she gets back to me and says, yeah, we're good to go. She says the one thing is that the one alteration is they require that we hire security guards. All right, well, we probably would have anyways on our own, but fine, so there's an extra cost. That's how it is when you're a conservative dissenter in 2020. You have to hire your own security because, as I showed you in the Khadr clips, it's not like the cops are going to help you. But I signed the contract. Like, I made sure we signed it and sent it back to them, and I actually said, here's my credit card, pay it in full, because I wanted to really lock in my contract, you know what I mean? And here's what's so crazy. We put that up like late Tuesday night or something, and we didn't even advertise it. We put up a website called Regina, that's the capital city, reginaspeech.com. An evening with Dr. Patrick Moore. Can you click on tickets there, the green bar? So if you go to reginaspeech.com and then click on that green bar there. And so general admission. So we were keeping the price really cheap. At least I think it's cheap, $25. For those who want to, be a bit fancy, we've got a wine and cheese reception beforehand. And those who are super fancy, we have actually a private dinner after the show with Dr. Moore, so that's sort of cool. But look more, scroll down a bit, event sponsor, and then look, media. So let's say you're that whiner, that slanderer at the Regina Leader Post. Okay, you pay $50. And what does it say? Access to media-only event space, allowance of media equipment, and access to the speech and question and answer session. Okay, so the media pays $50, but then look underneath it. Look underneath it. Al Jazeera, CBC, Huffington Post, and Vice. $250 plus $17.04 fee and tax. So $267.04. Fake news has to pay a little more. So I sent an email to one of the CBC reporters in Regina, and I said, hey, love it if you can come. We even have a special price for the CBC. I haven't heard back from him yet. I don't know why. This is going to be the biggest event in town. Now, I have the Eventbrite app right here on my phone. So let me tell you that as of this second, 12:36 p.m., we have sold. Are you ready for this? You're not going to believe this number. We haven't even advertised it other than, we tweeted it a bit. Do you want to know how many tickets we've sold? Regina is a city of 240,000 people, okay? So it's 1/10 the size of Toronto proper. And there's that phrase GTA, Greater Toronto Area. That is it's like a big megalopolis. Toronto's the 4th largest city in North America if you measure by urban area, like metropolitan area. There's over 6 million people in the Toronto metropolitan area. So 2.5 for Toronto proper, and about 3.5 within an hour's drive. So Regina is 1/10 the size of Toronto proper, and not even 1/20th the size of the GTA. You want to know how many tickets were sold in that little city of 240,000? Let me refresh it. Are you ready to be blown away? Take a guess. Any guesses? Any guesses? I'm looking in the comments for guesses. 1,003. 1,003. I got the Eventbrite app right here. 1,003 Reginans. Am I saying that right? You got to be extremely careful when you talk about people from Regina. Reginans. Queen City. It's the Queen City. That's what Regina means in Latin. Can you believe it? There are 2,000 seats in the Connexus Arts Center. And we've only been advertising this for like 2 or 3 days. We haven't been advertising it. That website's only been live for 2 or 3 days. This event doesn't until May 19th. I want to advertise a little bit. I haven't even emailed our people yet. And we have 1,003. Let me check if it's gone up since I've just. You can get your ticket now at reginaspeech.com. No, it hasn't moved up. It's still 1,003. Let's say we get 2,000. And you know what? Is the Conservative Party leaning to the center left? Yes, I'm afraid it is, Lamont. Do you think we'll get 2,000 people in the seats? I do. If we got 1,003 after 2 days with no advertising, and this event is in May, you're darn tootin' we're going to get 2,000 people. By the way, John Gormley, the radio host on Rawco Radio, he's the MC, very excited about that. Kelly Day, you know her, she sings How They Rule Ya, the Tommy Robinson song. Kelly Day will be performing the anthem, O Canada, to kick the event off. So let's say we get 2,000 people there. I'm pretty sure we will. What's the math on that? I said there's 240,000 people in Regina. There's 240,000 Reginans. I'm going to keep saying that. So out of 240,000 Reginans, how many Reginans are adults? Because you're not going to have babies come, other than the Antifa outside. Wah, ban him. So let's say you got 180,000 Reginans who are adults, and you got 2,000 of them coming. That is more than 1% of the city hearing a 2-hour deep lecture on the theory of man-made global warming and carbon dioxide. And they're all going to go home and, oh, how was that event last night? Well, let me tell you, you got 1,000, 2,000, you got 1%, you got to move the dial on that whole city. I'm extremely excited about that. So yeah, I feel, you know what? That is way, 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 way bigger than the original conference that Patrick Moore was scheduled to speak at. And I'd have to look at the original agenda, but I don't think he was given a full 2 hours. So we're having that cocktail reception that starts at 6. It's half an hour. Then we're having a 2-hour speech and Q&A. So I'm guessing his speech will be about 90 minutes and half an hour Q&A. And then afterwards, we'll have a private dinner for those who want to sit down and get to know him a bit. So if you were super enthused, you could theoretically have 4 hours of Patrick Moore. That's a lot of Patrick Moore. Or if you skip the dinner part and skip the reception part, you're still getting 2 full hours of Patrick Moore. That's more than he would have got, is what I'm saying, at his conference. So you're getting more Patrick Moore. And we're what, triple the size of those lame, government, boring, vanilla conference that deplatformed him? So they thought they were silencing him. No, they made him bigger than ever. Hey, Justin, could you put up that news story that you showed me just before I walked in here? I haven't even read the story yet, so we're going to read it together, my friends. I mentioned how cowardly the politicians at City Hall were. They were one of the 3 legs of the stool of deplatforming. And by stool, I don't mean the thing you sit on. The mayor was a coward. The mayor was disparaging it. But look at this. This is just published. I guess it was yesterday. You know what? I was traveling yesterday. So I didn't say. Regina mayor says Patrick Moore should have stayed on conference agenda. You know, this reminds me of when Donald Trump tweets, "We should build a wall." Good idea, boss. You've been president for more than 3 years. Is there someone you can talk to about that? Regina mayor says Patrick Moore should have stayed on the conference agenda. Gee, is there anyone you can talk to about that? Mayor, you liar. Critical thinking and looking at things from different perspectives is always how we learn. And so it's important that we don't walk away from those opportunities. Well, first of all, you didn't walk away, you liar. You canceled it. Regina's mayor not only disagrees with the decision to remove Patrick Moore from the Reimagine conference agenda, but also plans to attend Moore's newly scheduled talk at the Connexus Arts Center the night before the conference. You know what? Only because my friend John Gormley is emceeing the event, and he's nicer than me, only because of that am I not banning that quisling liar, Undermeyer, banning, deplatforming, censorious, hypocrite mayor. Other than that, he's a great guy, I hear. Only because John Gormley would probably disapprove am I not refunding this loser's ticket right now. I'm not going to do to him what the Dalhousie people did to me, take my money and then try and kick me out. I'll refund this loser his money right now. I should have a special category. You know, we got $50 for journalists, $250 for Al Jazeera and CBC. We should have $250 for mayors who deplatform people. And for mayors who don't deplatform people, $10. Okay, back to the story. Let me read a little bit more. I haven't even read this yet. I disagreed with that, and I still disagree with that. Mayor Michael Fougere lied Thursday of Moore's removal. I think he should be part of the agenda because, again, it's about diversity of opinion and critical thinking on some major issues facing every urban centre in Canada. Lied the liar. This comes a week and a half after Fougere directed the steering committee in charge of the conference to revisit what Moore's role should be in the event. That's a very polite way of saying Fougere's a goddamn liar. He said he asked for the review in order to address residents' concerns, but was always in favor of the self-described sensible environmentalist speaking at the conference. He just forgot to mention it, guys. Guys, he just forgot to mention it. Critical thinking and looking at things from different perspectives is always how we learn, and so it's important that we don't walk away from those opportunities, said Fougere, the liar, doing an interview. Moore had initially been scheduled as one of the keynote speakers at the city's Reimagined conference on May 20, which is focused on generating discussions around how to make the city's facilities and operations 100% renewable by 2050. On February 7th, Councillor Mike O'Donnell told reporters Moore's keynote speech had become a distraction or a detraction to the conference's purpose and that his talk had been cancelled. Fougere had been criticized on social media by some commentators and in other public forums about the decision, but says it wasn't up to him. Perhaps they could have had a discussion about reframing this to suit the conference itself, said Fougere, the liar, of the steering committee that made the final decision. I think Fougere is throwing them under the bus. I think he's the coward who made the decision, don't you? This is the lead right here. Fougere said his office received approximately 1,500 emails regarding Moore, the vast majority in favor of him speaking at the conference. Emails came in from Regina, other places in Saskatchewan, and from across North America, some even from as far away as Australia and Europe, said Fougere, the liar. At the same time, a local environmental group held a news conference this week at which they supported the move to remove Moore from the conference. This week, Moore announced in a tweet that he had been re-platformed with help from Rebel Media founder Ezra Levant. Moore is now slated to speak at the Connexus Arts Centre on May 19th, according to Levant. 470 tickets had already been sold as of Wednesday afternoon. Well, yeah, that was Wednesday afternoon, but we are at 1,007. We're at 1,007 right now. It's gone up 4 since we've been talking. Media bullies, environmental extremists, and political scolds thought they could deplatform Dr. Moore. We're re-platforming him, and it looks like he'll have a far larger audience than before, says the event description. Well, what do you think about that? What do you think about that? I think Mayor Fougere is a goddamn liar who's trying to cover his ass after the fact. What do you think? I don't want to embarrass John Gormley, the MC, because I want to be classy like John. But if John wasn't around, I would not be classy. I would ban Mayor Fougere and have a new ticket price for him for like $250. Let me just read some super chats. I was too busy reading that story to get through all the super chats. Here we go. Dame of the Dammit says, are you saying that Dalhousie University held an event no university students attended? No. I'm saying that most of the people in the room were wine ants. There were some high school kids who were bused there apparently, and there were, I'd say, 10% of the audience was students. Primpal 08, $5. Missing or manipulated data, indoctrination of children, censorship of skeptics, paid for protesters. Yeah, it's all about the science. Yeah, exactly right. I've never seen more junk science than on the left. Be good to each other, $2. It's nice to see you guys in Canada that are fact-based. Thank you. Lou Grimm, $5. Thank you. Be good to each other, $2. Crazy how police protect the terrorists. Yeah, exactly. Be good to each other, another $2. I feel bad for Canadians. You got more woes than the United States. Well, different woes at least. Oh, there's a few more. Let me just see. Taltana. Canadians, wake up. Trudeau is a traitor to Canada. He sold us out. Well, he sure is doing weird things with China. He's doing weird things with Iran. You say there's a few more super chats. Is that what you said?
Yeah, there should be one from Anico, not too far up.
Okay, let me just go up here. I'm just catching up because I was so busy. I don't want to leave them out. So, Justin, if you could resend them, that'd be great, because otherwise I'll spend my time looking for them. My friends, I'm a dissident. Maybe it's a personality thing. Maybe it's a aesthetic choice. You know, some people like to be cool kids, some people like to be jocks, some people like to fit in and be low key. Maybe it's a personality thing. Maybe I'm not happy unless I'm sort of an outsider. And one of the things that society says is, you got to wear pants. If you're a guy, if you're a gal, you can wear a skirt, you can wear a dress, you can wear tights, you can wear Lululemon, what are those called? Tights, those things. But if you're a guy, I mean, unless you're Scottish and wearing a kilt, it's pants. It's pretty much pants all the way down. It's just pants, 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 you know, every day. So a few years ago, I was working at a little TV station we like to call the Sun News Network. And I went into work, and I thought, well, I'm going to be at a desk like this. You know, you only see bosom height and up, right? So I'm wearing a jacket, I'm wearing a shirt, I'm wearing a watch. You've just got to assume I'm wearing pants. Well, one day at Sun News Network, the shot did not have a desk in the way. And my anti-pants activism became a bit of an issue. And you know, I've got a little earpiece here. That's how Justin talks to me, and I talk to him through the mic. So I had a little earpiece on, and I'm not wearing pants. And suddenly I got a message from the big boss. Ezra, hold for a message from Corey tonight from headquarters. I'm thinking, uh-oh. And I got pantsed. There's no other way to put it. Here, take a look. Oh, Jesus. I'm sorry I don't have pants. I'm sorry, okay. Apologize, I don't have my pants. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, you wouldn't want to go any lower than that anyways.
Yeah, you should be fine. Okay.
Fond memories. You know, there was an episode of, I think it was the Gary Shandling show, I think, where, I forget the character, but all he wanted to do in life was wear shorts. That's all that really mattered to him. He loved wearing shorts because he was an anti-pant activist as well. And his dad got him jobs here, and they're fancy jobs, great jobs, and he was miserable. His dad wanted him to be like a high executive. And in the end, he got a job, I think it was with UPS. Is that the brown trucks? Are those UPS or is that DHL? Yeah. And you know those delivery truck drivers at UPS? You know they get to wear shorts, right? Like all the time. Even if it's cold out, they get to wear shorts. I can relate. Anyways, that was a little flashback from Sun News Network, fond memories. So we played the I forgot my pants. I forgot. Whoopsie! I just slipped my mind. Oh man! I just left house too quick. I forgot my pants. What are you gonna do? Again. It's 12:53. Let me catch up on my super chats. Proud Boys Calgary, $5. Leftist eco-terrorists trying to shut down all of Canada, including using termites. That's an explosive substance. I know that. On rail tracks, police arresting the average Joe's trying to stop it. That's what's crazy. And that, I mean, I refer to my police interactions that I showed so far here. Omar, the terrorist, gets to fly on airplanes, police protection. A journalist gets harassed and pushed around. Protesters shutting down. Hey, show the Chrystia Freeland clip. Let's just show that because it's on point. Here, take a look at this.
No, thank you. Yeah. No, thank you. No, thank you. This will not happen. This meeting is not happening. I'm afraid it will not. I don't know. Like, maybe I'll have to bring this to military police service. Yeah, maybe we're opening it right now.
Sing, Joe! Joe! Sing!
So that's Canada's Deputy Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeland, being blocked, if I'm not mistaken, from, is that the Halifax Mayor's office or Premier's office or the legislature? I'm not sure, but some government office of some sort. And a bunch of her Liberal voters blocked her in the name of climate. Looked cold, by the way. Yeah, so where are the police? And Echo, $2, what do you think of O'Toole saying he'll defund the CBC? Yeah, I appreciate him saying that when he's powerless and looking for votes. What about the 10 years he was in office with Stephen Harper? I don't know if it was 10 years, I thought it was. He was part of that. Well, I mean, just Google that. I don't want to get that fact wrong. Aaron O'Toole. Aaron O'Toole was first elected in 2012, so he wasn't part of the Conservative government for the whole time, but he was there for 3 years. So if he was in the Conservative government for 3 years, how come he never said that when he could actually have done something about it? I suppose a legitimate answer would be, well, because he wasn't the boss, that wasn't his turf, he focused on what he focused on. Listen, I'm glad to hear it. I'm a little more skeptical. Super chats. Be good to each other. What's wrong with thinking the country you love is best? Well, nothing. In fact, that's natural. To despise your own country, to take the other's side against yourself is unnatural and, in the end, leads to downfall. Proud Boys Calgary, my sacred items are not garbage. My sacred items are special. Play that clip. I'm not sure if we have. That clip. My friends, it's 12:56. I have one clip for you. It's from a police officer who's with CP Police. That's Canadian Pacific. That's the name of a railway company. In Canada, railway companies have their own police force. They're company policemen. Isn't that interesting? So these protesters, these environmental extremists, are shutting down train tracks across the country. And people are saying, oh, this is terrible, it's going to cost billions, it's massively inconvenient. So what does a policeman who literally works for one of these railroad companies have to say? We'll take a look.
Is happening right now?
No, I'm not going to. I've already explained it to you. You're on private property and you have to leave.
And what'll happen?
If you're a protester, then you're protesting, right? But if you're just the media, that's different. You're not allowed on the private property.
I'm sorry, are you saying there are better and more protected rights for protesters?
Are you protesting?
No, I'm an accredited member of the media.
Okay, then I'm asking you as an accredited member of the media,
yes,
do you get off the property?
But you're going to let the protesters stay?
At this point, yes.
Okay. And your name, sorry?
Sergeant Steve Waters.
Okay, with local RCMP?
No, CP Police.
CP Police.
Yes.
Okay, can I speak to...
Do you have any other questions? Because I'm asking you to leave.
Yeah, I just would like you to explain again why an accredited member of the media is being asked to leave, but protesters are being allowed to stay.
Because if you're an accredited member of the media,
yeah,
and you're on private property, you're being asked to leave, you're subjecting yourself to being arrested. You understand that?
I do understand that. Can you explain why that's different for the protesters?
Can I see your ID, please?
Sure.
So if you're here to break the law and shut down our company and disrupt our customers and cost billions to the economy, you're welcome. But if you're here to ask about that, I'll arrest you. It's pretty tough to have any sympathy for a company that has that approach. Like if you don't want the protesters off your property, why should I want them off your property for you? If you don't want to arrest them when you have the power to do so, but you're threatening a journalist with arrest for asking about him, I'm fine with you losing some shareholder value until you have a new corporate policy. I'm fine with you losing so much money that your entire management team is thrown out by shareholders who say maybe it's time to start having some self-respect and belief in the rule of law. My friends, it's 12:59, which brings us almost to the end of our time together. I would invite you to watch my show tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, where I talk about Huawei and a bizarre announcement by TELUS that they're going to proceed with Huawei despite all the spyware found in Huawei electronics. just insane. That's 8 p.m. tonight. One last super chat that I'll read before we go. Dame of the Dammits. I've heard lawyers argue you have to be arrested for the right to protest, to contest an unjust law. Is that true? I don't know. You need standing to go to court. If you don't like a law and simply want to go to court to overturn it, I don't think you would have standing out of the blue. You would need to be affected by it in some way, or to be an intervener in a case for someone who has standing. I think governments can refer things to judicial review without having first broken the law or being arrested for the law. So I think what you heard is generally correct, but don't take that as legal advice. It's 1 p.m., my friends. Until next time, on behalf of all of us here at Rebel World Headquarters, goodbye, and keep fighting for freedom.